Hey everyone. So, this is just my story. I wanted to share, especially for those of you in withdrawal, who've been through withdrawal, who maybe are experiencing some severe symptoms, just to bring solidarity and just open, honest sharing of the journey. My name's Joanna. I'm 35 years old. I was on psychiatric medications for 10 years, and I have now been off of all medications for 11 months. My story is that I was married young, found the love of my life young, when I was 20 years old. 2 years later, had our first baby, and within 2 years from that, had our second baby. My husband was really busy with grad school, with work, with other volunteering. I could not sleep when the baby slept, and the baby was up a lot at night. And I had to take care of the toddler when the baby did sleep, and I just was not getting enough sleep. And I developed a severe postpartum depression. And my husband said to me, was like, how about you talk to the counselor about this? So I thought that was a good idea. I went to the counselor, shared with her that I was having a lot of these really strange, intrusive thoughts, didn't know where they were coming from or why. And she actually was trained in crisis counseling. So she'd seen a lot of dangerous cases and kind of had a protocol ready. She said to me I needed to exercise, I needed sunlight, and I needed medication. And I could tell she really cared. She continued to check in on me and to keep close watch of my case, make sure I was following through on those things. And I really trusted that counsel. I did everything I could I started swimming more intensively. I was trying to get outside. And I tried to find someone to prescribe meds. I was prescribed 100 milligrams of Zoloft, and within 3 weeks, I was in worse shape than ever before in my life and could not survive. The suicidality was so intense. I was hospitalized, and that was very, very traumatic. So when I was hospitalized, I was put on 200 milligrams. We were all really, really thankful that I survived that, returned to my life, returned to my children, and was able to continue raising them and continue with normal life. So it was kind of like this horrible, traumatic thing, but it was behind us, and I didn't feel a lot of feelings about it. We just moved on, and I wanted to get off the meds. I told the doctor that. So under her guidance, I weaned off, and within a short amount of time developed depression and symptoms, and thought, you know what, well, I don't want to get dangerous. I don't want anything dangerous to happen again. Let me talk to the doctor about this. And she told me that I probably had chemical imbalance, that I just needed medication for life. I did not like hearing that, but I also didn't want to be in a dangerous place as a mother, so I just took the medication. At that point, we switched to Lexapro because I had some side effects that I didn't like with Zoloft, so we tried Lexapro. And then over the course of the next 8 years, with any of my checkups, there were different med changes. I still had different mental symptoms that would come, different side effects, and struggled to really have anything steady with my mental health. It just felt like it was something I constantly had to work on. And I never once thought that the medication was the problem. I thought, and I did a lot of work as far as like counseling, exercise, trying to take responsibility for myself, work through anything I needed to work through emotionally, processing life, going to counseling, whatever it was. And then, maybe there would be a side effect or something that was hard to manage, and then I'd be recommended change meds. And I just trustingly would say, okay, well, let's change the med and see if that does it. And so I'd wean off and then wean on. And so I hamster wheeled through medications, was polydrugged for 8 of those years. Even though my ultimate goal was to be off, somehow I ended up with more scripts, told I could worry about that later. But I needed this now for my health. And I believed it. So my last depression was, now I realize, chemical and based on just probably the medication change, and was withdrawal, because I was doing everything I could, exercise, yoga, counseling, like I was even joining support groups, like trying to just pour anything I could on this to kick it, and it just wouldn't go. And I was begging to move. I told my husband, I think it must be the city. It must be the city. Just the stressful city life, that's why I feel this way. Finally, with increasing my dose and in combination with some counseling, the depression lifted. And I was like, okay, I'm better now. And we did decide to move to the countryside. But my ultimate desire was to be medication free. And so we thought, living in the country, a slower pace of life, that would provide the opportunity to do that. I learned about the serotonin myth. I learned about with that depression itself coming after being on meds can be a withdrawal symptom, and then it could actually heal. So I was actually encouraged, and I thought, you know what? With this different change of lifestyle, with my husband being more available, being in a different stage of life, I think I can go off and I can use my skills. I had already done the larger part of a graduate degree in counseling. And I can use my skills to really work through any kind of depression symptoms that come and get to the other side of it meds free. So that was my goal. Because my doctor was so insistent on me being on meds, I decided to wean on my own over 6 weeks. I did not know about, I did not know what withdrawal really was, or safety prescribing, or the reasons for it. I just felt hope that any symptoms that did come, I could heal from. They were due to being on meds, not to due to just an ongoing lifelong sickness. And I had no idea what I was headed for. No idea what lay before me. I did develop some depression, but with my mantras, with my skills, muscled my way through. 5 months later, developed such intense symptoms I could have never imagined. I wouldn't wish this suffering on my worst enemy. I was crying constantly. My mood was horrible. I had low energy. I was having body sensations out of nowhere that were like having the flu and feeling really, really nauseous. Actually, food lost its taste and I couldn't hardly chew and swallow. I felt lightheaded. I had chills. I had sweats at night. I had diarrhea. I was starting to feel like it was really hard to concentrate and focus on anything or remember things. I was getting confused and feeling like panic and terror. And such an intense anxiety was through the roof. I don't even know if anxious is the right word. It was absolute horror and dread and sheer terror. I could have never imagined that kind of terror. So what did I do? I went back to that doctor and I let her know what was happening. And she put me on 20 milligrams to reinstate fluoxetine. And I was like, okay, I thought I could get free, but maybe I was wrong. And I took it. I did not want to get dangerous for my family. and get in a bad place. So I took the medicine, and in those 3 days, the amount of symptoms I had went through the roof. I could hardly get out of bed, and it felt like my brain was on fire. I felt so condemned and sentenced. It was the worst kind of dread and horror. And then I learned from a friend who happened to reach out that day, which I just think was God, that she had gone through withdrawal, and she got on the phone with me. I was like, Joanna, you are going through withdrawal right now. And I was just trying to wrap my head around that. This is because I've been on a drug. Somehow I was under the impression that these were safe, and they weren't making me a druggie. They weren't making me dependent like that. My husband had worked 7 years as a chaplain at an addiction recovery center, and he said it looked like I was coming off heroin. It was so bad. And so those 3 days of taking that medicine, once I learned about kindling and that I'd been kindled by taking this dose after being in withdrawal, then I stopped and just started learning everything I could about surviving withdrawal. And I cannot thank the people enough who have been sharing their stories of how they've survived, how they've healed, how they've come through this. Those stories have been my lifeline. I also have just clung to anybody who's been willing to cling to me to help me through this. And just been surviving every day, doing the best I can to not make my symptoms so visible to my kids, but yet give enough honesty that they don't think I'm up in bed or crying because of them. Letting them know I'm healing, I'm coming off of medicine and I'm healing. It's nothing anybody did, it's nothing you did, just know I am getting better. But if I'm crying a lot, that's why. So we've done our best to really shield our kids in the midst of the most intense symptoms to survive that I could ever have imagined living through. And it's been, so that acute, that kindling happened February 17th. And it's mid-August now. I'm 11 months off all medications, and my symptoms now, they come and go. I do have wider windows where I can feel normal, even felt positive emotions. But I still have these waves, and it makes me really uncertain about how I can even function in the coming year, how to plan. Really hard to commit to things. I feel even nervous to plan anything social because I'm afraid if I go to the thing or have the person over, I might be in a horrible wave and just crying ridiculously and inconsolable, or just feeling like I'm about to jump out the window and can't hold a conversation. So it's been really hard to do normal life and act normal. I still will have crying, worsened mood, low energy. Thankfully, the insomnia has gotten a lot better, and I've been able to sleep normally. Last night I didn't, though. But for the most part, I've been able to sleep. The suicidality left. I'm so thankful for that. The anxiety, oh my word. I have never experienced anxiety like this anxiety. And I'm just learning to ride it out and not try to think too much about it. But I'm such a reflective, I guess, analytical person that I'm usually oh, why do I feel that way? Let me think about that. Let me reflect on that. Let's see what meaning it has. And it is not good in withdrawal, because then I'm reading into everything. I'm believing all this horrible interpretations, reflecting way too deeply. And so I'm just learning to okay, let's ride this out. My perspective is not clear. So yeah, I have a hard time making decisions. I've my memory's gotten better, and the derealization and depersonalization has gotten a lot better. I hardly ever have that now. The flu-like stuff has gotten so much better. I hardly ever have that. And feeling lightheaded or dizzy will happen sometimes in a wave. And then I notice, like, when I'm in a wave, sometimes those flu-like things will come back, like to lesser degrees, but I can still notice them. Like, I'll be like, I'm achy. I really want to lay down. I'm really cold, you know? So, and then those other negative symptoms, like, will come and go as far as like the intensity of how much I'm experiencing them and how manageable they are. And then I'll have windows of time where I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm the normal me. I feel like I can have a positive perspective even of this horrible experience. I feel hope about the future. I would really like to help others. And so I'll have that in windows, and those windows are getting larger. And so I really hold on to those because those remind me, like, okay, I can, that's real. That's the real me. And then the waves are like this haunting. There can be this real haunting that happens in the waves where it's like a sense of total dread that I'm headed for absolute disaster and this is never getting better and it's all my fault and I'm just going to keep unraveling and anything that matters to me I can't do or can't do well and I'm failing. And yeah, so it's like this doomsday spiral that like is completely irrational and unreasonable and very, very, very intense. So, and those I'm learning to just like lay low and try to ride it out, and lean on people who actually know me, know the real me, and can help me like just like keep going, you know, and be encouraged about something truthful or good. So that's where I'm at, 11 months out. And just wanted to really share my story, get it out there. I really think these medications cause harm, and there needs to be more awareness and warning and transparency around the risks and dangers involved, especially of long-term use. I think there needs to be support for people who want to get off and information about how to do that safely and resources for how to do that safely. I think that people should not go from drug to drug to drug, that this is damaging, that this causes increased risk of withdrawal symptoms and of damages. I really, really appreciate the advocacy, the honesty that's happening for those who are sharing honestly. The medicating normal was just really, really validating and helpful. I just felt like I could see my story in it. And yeah, I think people need options for freedom from medication and not to be told to be on more medication and to stay on medication or to switch to new medications. I really, really trusted my doctor. I really did. I sort of thought medicine was safe, sort of like taking an antibiotic when you had a horrible infection and there was nothing that was resolving it, but thank God the antibiotic would do it. Like, I sort of thought psychiatric medication was like that and it wouldn't have these severe, long-lasting, damaging effects on my life. And I think that trust in the medical system, you know, and in my doctor and in all of it is just been really shattered. And I have to live with that shattering and what it means to take charge of my mental health and really be in charge of my health. And that's, I guess, a journey a lot of us are on in this in this withdrawal community. So keep going, keep healing, and we're going to get better. We really are. Let's hang in there. Let's keep each other going. Let's remember those who've told us they've healed. I'm so thankful for everyone who has shared their stories of hope. It gives me so much. So thank you. I hope to do the same. Bye, guys.